We're joined here on The Colour of Country Life by the Deputy Nationals Leader and Member for Lowan, Emma Kealy. Emma, you found a safe place to get out of the weather at Prepoll, I hope?
Yeah, it's surprisingly freezing here in Hamilton today on Prepoll, Ricky. We're trying to keep warm. I've got my fingers around a hot cup of tea and everyone's in the same boat. So we're just doing our best to greet people with a smile and give them some choice when they come in to vote.
Now, they're voting for you in the seat of Lowan potentially, amongst other candidates, but when it comes to the broader picture of the state election, if you believe the polls, the opposition might be closing in on the Andrews Labor government.
Yeah, it's certainly the feeling we've got across the state. What I'm seeing on the polling booth is just people who are very, very angry with Daniel Andrews, his neglect of the country, and particularly what's happened over the past few years of lockdowns and restrictions. So we're seeing that very strongly on the polling booths, and that's starting to come through, and they're having the similar feelings in the city, which, we'll have to wait and see what happens. It's still a few days left until the polling booths close, but I think a lot of people have made their mind up how they want to vote. They've got a strong view over what they want to see in Victoria. They think that Dan's time is up and they're ready for a change of government.
Well, the Electoral Commission was saying they may see even more than half the votes cast before Saturday. Is that what you've seen at Prepoll over the last week?
Lowan's actually got the lowest proportion of people who voted early. So I think we're sitting at around 28% of Prepoll and of early voting, but also postal votes. But in some of the other seats, Ricky, we're seeing massive turnouts early on. I think Nepean is above 48% now. So basically half of the people in that electorate have already cast their vote. And we're seeing that more and more often. People are taking advantage of the early voting options, whether they've got something planned for election weekend. And I think particularly for this one, people have either made their mind up or they're concerned that if they have COVID, they'll lose their opportunity to have their say and cast their ballot in the ballot box on election day. So the votes are coming in, and we'll just have to see how everything pans out on Saturday.
Yeah, actually on that one, in the Lowan electorate, I understood the Electoral Commission was still looking for people to staff the polling booths. Has there been an update on that?
Yeah, I haven't spoken to the VEC staff, but, Lowan's a massive electorate. It now represents about 19% of the state, and the VEC having 53 booths to cover off, it's a massive ask, and, everybody's got different commitments at different times, and they have certainly found it very difficult to fill the 271 jobs that they've got to cover off on pre-poll, but then also on election day, sticking around and doing the count and the returning officers to bring the ballot papers safely back to the central point. So there's a lot of jobs there. If anybody is looking for a bit of extra work, I know there is work available right across the state with the VEC, so put your hand forward, you might get a bit more pocket money.
Absolutely. Let's look at your communities in the northern part of the electorate of Lowan, including Jeparrit, Rainbow, Warwick, Nabil. What have your promises been in that part of the electorate?
Well, our biggest thing and biggest focus, Ricky, has always been around getting our fair share for country Victoria, and one of the predominant issues that's always raised is around the condition of our roads. So the Nationals have got what is, I think, an Australian first. It's a massive commitment, which is 25% of all infrastructure funding will come to rural and regional Victoria. Now, to have a set-down proportion of funding for our key infrastructure, whether it's roads or our hospitals, whether it's our schools or community infrastructure, that's a massive step forward to make sure country Victoria is never, ever forgotten. We just compare that, if you like, of what we've seen under the Andrews Labor government this past year, which was checked by the Parliamentary Budget Office. We got 13% of the infrastructure budget in country Victoria, and the year before it was just 11%. Now, that's not fair. We've got 25% of the state's population. We deserve at least 25% of the infrastructure budget, and that's exactly what the Nationals will promise.
I dare say you're actually contributing more than that on a population sense in terms of gross domestic product or gross state product. In any case, the Victorian Farmers Federation have also given you a big tick on that pledge, giving you all the way on the green, whereas on their report card issued on Tuesday, Labor only promised $780 million over 8 months for road maintenance. They've got a big red mark.
Yeah, roads are such a big issue, Ricky. I mean, we don't often have the options, about getting on public transport if we want to get into town or if we want to head to the city. And that's not just to visit, but also to get to work, to get to school, to go and about and do our business, or, just even a weekend away in Melbourne to see the footy or something. But we also rely on it to get our product to market. And, our roads have been left to rot for a very, very long period of time. They didn't happen to fall apart overnight. And unless we see a serious injection of money, it's going to be so hard to catch up and get on top of it. So we've committed $1 billion a year, every year for 10 years to Vic roads so that they can actually rebuild from the base up and stop this patchworking of potholes that we see with inferior products that you can, I've seen some chemical mixes, you can just stick your finger in it straight afterwards. It never sets properly and so it blows out straight away. And we're also giving a bit of money or committing some more money to local government, $1.5 million every year for every council. And that's to make sure that there's not that additional pressure on our councils to push up rates, or it just gives them the budget to be able to get on with maintaining their local roads and not having to put their hand further into local people's pockets to be able to do that.
Yeah, I note the VFF, the Farmers Federation, say there's no pledges from the Labor government on fixing local government funding, but the Coalition, as you say, looking into this, and I think you've even committed to getting the Productivity Commission to investigate in that direction. Yeah,
that's exactly right. I mean, we just need to do better on roads. We see so much money thrown at big projects in Melbourne, and unfortunately it's never just the first number that comes out. We often see cost blowouts that runs over time, and so we see more and more money sunk into Melbourne, and country people have had enough of that. We really need to see a change of government. We need to see the Nationals at the budget table making those decisions to make sure we get our fair share in country Victoria. And look, roads is the top of my list of the infrastructure we need to address urgently because lives are at risk at the end of the day.
Well, Emma, you're also the Shadow Mental Health Minister, and on the health front, it's been a hot topic, of course, over recent years with concerns about COVID-19. There's a range of pledges that the Nationals and Liberals have made regarding hospitals in the region. What about for the Lowan electorate? What are the pledges for health there?
Yeah, there's two main facets, I think, to fixing the health crisis. One is around making sure we've got the infrastructure in place. So the 3 hospitals in my electorate that have been advocating and lobbying with me to get a key investment in the hospitals have been at Mortlake, up at Wallora, and also Hamilton Hospital. They've been desperately lobbying for a rebuilt emergency department and ICU for a number of years. I've actually presented their case to the then Minister for Health and just gone through it with him. He said he would support it. We haven't seen the money come through as yet, though. So we're very proud to make those commitments. And, Ricky, it doesn't really matter what the result is overall. At the end of the day, on Saturday, these are the sort of projects that we always fight for with the Nationals. We always fight for our fair share. And we so often get results as well. So I'm pretty confident we'll be able to get those projects over the line no matter the result on Saturday, but it's looking like there's a really good shot that the Liberals and Nationals will be in government, and we've got a bit of a new direction and change of approach in Victoria.
Well, Emma, I'll let you get back across the road out in the elements seeking votes at Prepoll. Thanks very much for joining us, Emma Kealy, Deputy Nationals Leader and Member for Lowan.
Thanks, Ricky.